Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Toolbox podcast. I want to welcome today's guest. He's an amazing educator, author, podcast host, and content creator on multiple platforms. He runs a successful digital consulting agency. Let's welcome our very own personal branding coach, Professor Nez.
Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, man? It's so good to see you. Great to be here.
So Nez, you're an amazing branding expert. You go by Professor Nez, but your friends call you Nez. So I've heard your story about why you became a content creator. What was that aha moment when the switch turned and you realized you needed to create your own content and build your own personal brand?
Yeah, this is such a good question. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, Jonathan, this really means the world to me. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and just how talented and how fast you're going to rise the ranks here in this kind of sort of ecosystem, the online content creation, online business space. Yeah, I have been in business my whole life. I was in, I like to consider myself a very creative person too. Like I've written books, short stories, poems, really bad poetry. And, I played music for a long time in a band. So combining those two, I never really had a traditional job like ever in my life, because even being a professor of business communications and business writing, I was never a full-time tenured professor. So I was more of an adjunct professor where I basically it was like being an entrepreneurial professor. I was kind of on my own, kind of left alone for the most part. I didn't have to go to all those boring departmental meetings. And for the most part, if I kept my hands clean, I was pretty much running my own shop, so to speak. Obviously you have to adhere to certain, faculty and department guidelines, etc. But I went into being a professor because I loved communication, I loved business, I loved art, and I didn't want to do the traditional job, and I thought, what a cool thing! I could supplement my income and teach on the side. And then it turned into, I was teaching, because they don't pay adjunct professors anything. I mean, literally nothing. They exploit adjunct professors. I started teaching like 10, 15, sometimes even more than that, classes a semester just to make ends meet. And I was what they call a freeway flyer. I would go to this university, that university, from 8 to 10 work at Cal State Fullerton, and then 9 to 10 go to, Saddleback or go to IVC, then Chapman. I was literally a freeway flyer. That's what they called us. And then, the Facebook, YouTube, and all these amazing platforms started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they became more on my radar around 2015, 2016. Snapchat came out. Snapchat was really, really popular. And I noticed this opportunity where, not only is this where the attention is going, not only is this important from a communication standpoint and a business standpoint, but I felt this is something that I could do, that I could really bring value to these platforms. And what really was the tipping point, Jonathan, was when I had a student come up to me. I know you've heard me say this on Clubhouse before, but I had a student come up to me and say, Professor Nez, and I have a history of, really a kind of a hate-hate relationship. It's not even a love-hate relationship with the university system, especially in North America. And we don't even need to get into that unless you want to. I mean, it's kind of a long story, but basically I've felt the university system underserving students for decades, if not longer. Professor Nez, I just paid $100,000, this student told me, for a piece of paper, AKA a degree, and nobody will hire me. What do I do? And I was just blown away that this endearing, sincere, young person just trying to get their life started, she had no clue where to go. She didn't understand, because what she'd been traditionally told was that you go, get educated, get a degree, get a 4-year degree, and then you get a job, you raise a family, and that's it. That's the formula. It just doesn't work that way, because, I knew in my heart, after being in the educational system for a long time, after leaving the private sector from my mom's business, I knew that these students weren't getting the real world skills. That was the tipping point. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start my YouTube channel. It is going to be the best educational channel on YouTube, helping people like my students career professionals, entrepreneurs, anybody build their brand, get real world life skills so they can go out there and be successful, both in their personal life and in their professional life. And obviously there's been a lot of different amalgamations and pivots and, just natural adjustments and modifications. But the real brunt of what I want to do online, Jonathan, and I think you can get a taste of this from my shows, I love inspiring people. I thirst for inspiration. I die for inspiration. I don't ever want to teach anybody anything. I want to inspire people, because when you teach somebody, or when you say, I'm going to teach you something, the first thought is, oh, great. This guy's going to try to school me or whatever. But when you get inspired, you become inflamed with purpose. And I know this because the people who changed my life were not teachers, artists, musicians, what have you. They may have had that as a title, but what they really were at their core was they were inspirers. And I vowed to be that, because I remember being in my depths of darkness and my depths of hell, dealing with the dude inside my head, and just all the other kind of obstacles in life, that the inspirers were the ones who created that bridge over troubled water, so to speak. And so that's what I wanted to be. I just wanted to be another link in the chain. And it's really proven to be a beautiful thing. Some of the responses I've gotten, it's just blown me away. And I've been able to create a sustainable income from this. I mean, more than sustainable income. And I'm here to share, hopefully, how I did that, because a lot of you guys listening and watching might think that you need to have, 1,000 million this subscriber, follower, what have you. I'm living proof you don't need any of that. And so I'm happy to talk to you about that today.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, that story, it resonated with me a lot, because I actually, like you mentioned, Cal State Fullerton, I actually went there, and I left there feeling like I had a piece of paper. And that was it. Just a piece of paper.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
I have three. Hey, Jonathan, I have 3 pieces of paper, and they don't mean squidoosh anymore. Nothing.
And I feel like it's a change in the way that things are being done. A lot of people don't realize that, we think there's this stigma that you have to go to school to be successful. But there's so many other ways to not only educate yourself, but educate others, like by YouTube or other social media platforms where you're able to help other people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to denigrate education.
No.
Education's, and I'm not saying you are. I mean, education is a beautiful thing, but just like everything in life, it's a matter of being selective and making sure that you see. One of the things that I used to say to my students all the time, and this was not to sound cool, but literally on the first day of every class, whether it was marketing, business, I taught creative writing, I taught rhetoric, I taught communications, I taught digital literacy, digital media. I taught a multitude of courses all under that umbrella of pretty much business communications. But, I want to say this. Every single course that I started, every new class, I would always say this to the students. I would look them all, and I would be my usual dramatic self, but I would look them in the eye and I'd say, I want everybody in this room to think that I'm completely full of beep, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. I'm dead serious when I say this, Jonathan. I wasn't saying that to sound cool. I literally wanted them to not believe me, to not trust me. Why? Because this is what's happening in our education system. Is you've got these people who wear fancy, ties and professorial attire, and they just basically pontificate and basically proselytize in front of the classroom, and everybody in class just nods their head without questioning it. I wanted everybody in my class, the reason I started with that preface, I wanted everybody in my class to verify everything I was saying. Why is it important to know your audience? Why is it important to understand what purpose is? Why is it important to know and be aware of language choices that we make and how that has an impact on our audience? Why do these things matter? Verify. So the thing that I think is more important than anything is critical thinking and critical discernment. We used to teach our young people how to think, not what to think, how to think. That's the key. And so I really pride myself on that. And I think the reason why a lot of people are finally, and COVID has kind of exposed the university system. I think the reason why a lot of people are seeing that their education maybe isn't as valuable as it should be or used to be is because they're being taught what to think, not how to think. And I think that's the big difference. And now that you just said it best, now that there's literally information. I mean, I remember driving. So check this out, Jonathan, real quick anecdote. I had a 6 a.m. course at Cal State Fullerton. Or actually, it was 7 a.m., but I'd wake up at 5:30. So I was on the road at 6. This is before I really started my consulting business. I would listen to podcasts every morning. I didn't listen to the news. I hated the news. I didn't listen to music. I listened to podcasts for like a good 4 or 5 years. I learned more about the online ecosystem. I learned more about SEO, about, content marketing, about web design, about pitching to clients, about positioning yourself more than I ever did with my 3 degrees. And definitely more than I ever would have spending $100,000 on a piece of paper, right? And sitting in a classroom with a professor, which sadly, Jonathan, the majority of professors that are teaching at business schools have zero business experience, if you can believe that.
I can
Most
believe
of them really talk a good game, but they've ran a business like mom and pop 20, 30 years ago, but they have no idea what's going on with e-commerce. Like if you're a business professor or a communication professor and you're not on Clubhouse and you're not on Green Room or Spaces, you're not doing your job. I say that with 100% seriousness. If you're not leveraging where the attention is, where relationships are being built, where change is happening, you're not doing your job. And most of these professors, because they're tenured, they don't have to worry about getting fired. They don't have to worry about job security. They have a comfortable paycheck, comfortable pension, comfortable benefits. Where's the incentive to innovate? There's zero. They're just going to keep doing the least amount to get, the status quo, right? So anyway, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but my story really stems from a deep desire and need to provide what I feel is the most important, because I have a vested interest in this. I have kids, right? I'm getting older. I'm going to be dead and gone soon. It's you guys, the young generation, that's going to take over. Who am I? What kind of person am I if I don't have some kind of, I feel like I have an obligation. Like I need to help. I need to provide something that says, hey guys, I'm here to help you be the best you can be and create the best opportunities and create the best country, the best life that you can for yourself and your community. I really deeply feel an obligation to help with that. That's where it comes from. Money is important, don't get me wrong, but if you notice my tagline, I'm here to help you, inspire you to grow your impact and income online. That's my tagline. Impact is always first. Impact is the most important metric. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No worries. And you know how we were talking about Clubhouse? We were actually in a room today and somebody was talking about you. And that's a perfect example of like how you weren't in the room and somebody was talking about you. And they actually mentioned how you started monetizing MySpace like way back when.
Yeah.
Like that you've been doing things that long, which just shows just the work that
now
you're doing.
Now I really feel old.
No. I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you were able to foresee that this little social network was going to actually be something that could be used for business. People weren't thinking about it for business at the time, but you were.
Right.
And you saw how
I also turned into, so my blog ended up being something that people, paid to get into as a newsletter, right? And as a special, almost like Patreon before Patreon, right? And then I started becoming a consultant helping musicians brand themselves on MySpace, because I think MySpace is still kind of a musician site. I honestly haven't been on the site in ages. But yeah, I mean, I think, I know your kind of show, and I think your listeners who are burgeoning, fledgling entrepreneurs, if not more advanced, it's like that entrepreneurial kind of spirit that has been imbibed in me, and I've been born with it. And it's one thing to be born with it, and it's another thing to execute on it, right? So I think it's important to have that idea, and that's why I say purpose. Like, who are you? Really, self-discovery is really important. Self-introspection, is really, really important to understand what it is that you feel makes you tick, what makes you excited, what makes you come alive, right? And then figuring out a way to monetize that, to translate those skills into a way that's sustainable. And some people look at that like, why do you have to monetize that? Why not just give that away for free? Well, you can. That's nothing wrong with that, but you still have to pay the bills, right? And I actually don't mind compensating somebody who can actually impact my life, even if it's something, as simple as, just a piece of advice, or going as far as helping me construct a website or whatever. Like, I feel like that's worth paying for. It's worth it to me to pay for, because the impact comes first. If the transformation and the impact comes first. But what I'm trying to say for your listeners, Jonathan, is that this is the sign that you're in the right podcast. This is the sign that you're in the right field. When I think what is a purebred kind of business owner / entrepreneur is somebody who looks at ways in which they can create impact while monetizing that, and always looking for opportunities to do that, but not in a I want money, money, sell, sell, sell way, in a way that's like, wow, okay, that's an interesting community, that's an interesting space or vertical. I see opportunity there because I have skills that can bring something bigger to the conversation. Does that make sense, Jonathan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that I've been a content creator my entire life. So when somebody doesn't want to compensate a creator because they create, you'd pay to go see a movie. You pay by watching ads if you watch television. So what's the difference between you or I as a content creator that doesn't necessarily, because you're not being shown in a movie theater, doesn't mean you're not giving value. And the value you get from a movie is entertainment.
Exactly.
Television. It just is a different type of value.
Yeah, we pay a subscription to Netflix, $10, $12 a month. I don't even watch 99% of the stuff on there. If you're listening to this and watching this and you're thinking, am I an entrepreneur? Is this something for me? I truly believe that it's so important to know yourself. It really is. It's really important to figure out and try different things and see what actually electrifies you. Because what electrifies me, Nez, is helping people, inspiring people. What electrifies me more than anything is people checking out my content and actually leaving comments, not just views, not just subscribers, but of course we want views. Views more than subscribers. But I want more so, I want that engagement. I want people to say, wow. Like, Jonathan, when I get a comment on my YouTube channel, and I'm not saying that this to sound like, oh, look at me. Like, it happens a lot where somebody says, Nez, I came across your video and I'm just blown away. I can't believe how perfect this was. I needed this. This was the perfect time for me to get your video and watch it, or listen to your podcast, or see your Instagram story, or whatever, because it's content creation, right? It's all over. I can't tell you how much that makes me feel. And if you have the power to impact people, you can monetize that. Especially now in the creator economy. This creator economy, man, if I was 33, Jonathan, are you married?
No, not yet.
Oh my God, you have no idea how lucky you are. So I think I got married at 34. I'm now 44, but I got married at 34. So you're almost there. If I tell people all the time, I go, if I was 28, 32, 26, 38, and I didn't have a family, kids, a mortgage, my God, I would have more content out there than anybody on planet Earth. And I'd be doing this 24/8. I mean, I'm already kind of doing it 24/8, but I would just be dedicating myself because I love it that much. It's not work to me. When you can find something that doesn't feel like you need to do it, when you can find something that you feel like you don't need to work at, or you have a skill or asset that you don't feel like it's a struggle to perform that, you can monetize it, because this is the creator economy. There's so many ways to do it. And I'm happy to talk about that if you want.
Yeah, and the fact that you could do it on multiple platforms. Like I know
Yes.
you're big on LinkedIn. Like nobody would even think to use LinkedIn to create a personal brand. And maybe if you wanted to talk a little bit about what you're doing on there and how you're using that to build your personal brand, maybe helping others do the same.
Yeah, I love this question. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Yeah, LinkedIn has been kind of the hub of my business for the last 15 years. And, LinkedIn has gone through amazing amalgamations and evolutions. It started off as just a simple, almost like a kind of a sort of just a professional Twitter almost. It was like really nothing. You had a very small, rinky dinky profile. And there was a kind of very meager ways to connect and communicate. Everybody was talking about being linked in. Let's linked in, right? And it wasn't really, it wasn't until Microsoft bought them, 5, 6 years ago. And when Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26 billion back in 2016, I believe, something changed. As a matter of fact, everything changed. They introduced video as a part of their, news feed. Well, they actually altered and modified their news feed. A lot of people, and I would agree, it's felt a lot like Facebook. But not even close to Facebook, because Facebook is more family friends than anything else, unless you have a business page. Then they introduced LinkedIn Video in 2017 and then LinkedIn Live in 2019. So, and now just recently they've introduced creator mode, which I have a video on my channel if you want to know more about that. But basically the why LinkedIn has become such an amazing place to build your personal brand is because LinkedIn is encouraging business owners. They're understanding the creator economy. They're understanding that people don't do business with logos. People don't do business with pieces of paper. People don't do business with websites. They do business with people. That's why personal branding. If you come across an advertisement, and it feels like an advertisement, the majority of the time it doesn't work. Advertisements that feel like advertisements don't work. So what personal branding does is it humanizes you. It personalizes. People will not want to do business with you unless they first need to know who you are, awareness. Then once they know you, they need to dig you. They need to actually like you. And then when you build that relationship, it turns into something bigger, hopefully, trust. And that's when they're going to transact with you. And that's when they're going to refer you to other people. So what I've been doing on LinkedIn is I've been doing a weekly LinkedIn Live show for the last 2 years, especially during the pandemic, which I know, Jonathan, you're a part of that show, which we go live on YouTube and Facebook as well. I create a lot of video content that's related to my audience there. My audience on LinkedIn is primarily looking to advance their career, primarily looking to leverage a lot of these different tools, right? The entrepreneur toolbox, so they can grow their impact and income, right? Online. So I would highly recommend, if you're an entrepreneur right now and you're listening and watching this, think about creating a powerful LinkedIn profile that identifies how you can solve problems for your ideal audience, just like any other platform. And then start creating some video content, written content, text content, LinkedIn articles. Even curating content on LinkedIn is a powerful way to build your brand, because the more you put yourself out there, the more you show up, the more you demonstrate how you can be of value. That's when people want to connect with you. That's when people want to engage with you. People have a vested interest in themselves first. Like Jonathan, when you and I met on Clubhouse, you didn't connect with me because you thought my profile looked cool or my logo looked cool. No, you connected with me because you're like, wow, this guy actually, I totally love what he's saying. It resonates with me. It makes sense. I've used it. I've implemented. I've seen it in action. And he's always helping. He's always trying to help me. He's always trying to bring, there's that V word again, bring value. And so now we're here. How cool is this? Like Jonathan, me and you are here right now in this awesome audience, Entrepreneurs Toolbox, listening, all you lovely people listening and watching. We're here because of my personal brand. We're here because of that. And Clubhouse is really, really quickly, if I could talk about that, just
Absolutely.
in simple terms, it's the same thing with every platform. What Clubhouse does is just accentuates that immediacy. it accentuates that connectivity because it's in real time. Okay. When you create video content on LinkedIn, or you create an article, a blog, or text, helpful text posts or whatever, or even photographic posts with caption and good copywriting, that's still two-dimensional. It's not very three-dimensional, right? It's not real-time access. What Clubhouse has done, it's taken all the beautiful ingredients of social media and how we connect and engage, and it's just added this beautiful immediacy and intimacy of being live in the moment, where you can connect with your favorite, business owners, entrepreneurs, content creators in real time. And that's the power of social, because now I get a taste. Who is Jonathan? What's his energy like, his mannerisms? What's his truth, his beliefs, his philosophy, his ideology? I get more clearer on the picture. This is the nuts and bolts of personal branding. I've said this before. It's modern communications. That's all it is. Personal branding has been around for ages. It's modern communications in the number one ecosystem where everybody's communicating, online. And so the key to it is clarity, being clear, being someone who somebody can relate to, which is, to me, I don't want to say authentic, but really it is just being real and down to earth, and being consistent. And so showing up, being in people's scope, being present in their awareness, and really thinking about them first. And that's how you end up on an awesome show like the Entrepreneur's Toolbox. Look how lucky I am. I get to hang out with Jonathan on his awesome podcast, video podcast, whatever you want to call it, and be with all you amazing people. I mean, how lucky am I? And all this happened because what? Because I showed up. That's what personal branding is. Showing up, being about helping and not being about selling, and doing it consistently, just helping over and over again, and beautiful things happen. It's amazing. I'm living proof.
And the fact that you show up and then you show up again and then
yes.
again.
Consistency is, a lot of people don't talk about this. A lot of people say, oh, no, just post whenever you want to and post whenever. Now, I believe in mental health, and I believe, because I talk about it a lot, and I believe in, I definitely believe in taking care of yourself, but I would be remiss if I said that you could get away with doing it once in a blue moon. You have to be consistent. Consistency is a really big deal on a lot of these platforms, but also because your audience has choices. Your audience has a lot of choices. And if somebody's there to fill that gap and there's a void in your consistency and your showing upness, let's say there's a void in your showing upness, they're going to find somebody to fill that void because there's a million other options. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be doing your audience justice if I didn't say, guys, you got to work your ever living butts off. And you do. You just do. Not to the point of, devastation and abject exhaustion, but you do have to work your little tail off, because I'm telling you right now, Jonathan's heard me say this before. I've been everything from a bartender to a sales rep to a commodity broker trader to a paper boy, my mom's business, professor, public sector, private sector. There is nothing on planet Earth as hard as this, but it's worth every minute.
And this coming from somebody that started their first business at 13, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I was, so my mother's business, which was a leather shoe and handbag business, got started in 1990, I want to say, 1989, 1990. So I was, 1976. I was born in 1976. So what's that, 14? Is that 14? I don't know. I'm not good at math. I think it's 14. Yeah. So I was 14 when my mom said, hey, and I think I was, what I was before that is even at 13, because I lied to Carl's Jr. Carl's Jr., if you're watching or listening, I apologize. They asked me how old I was. I think I needed to be 15. I was 13 years old, and I worked at the drive-through of this Carl's Jr. I've just always had it in me to work. I don't know what it is. I'm always one of these people that if I'm not working, and I'm not doing, I wanted to always have money for myself, not have to borrow it from my parents or take it from anybody else. I always wanted to have sustainable income for myself. So I've gone through a lot. That's why I think I have a lot to share to people. And so I know how to build value. I know how to create audiences, and I also know how to make money doing it. So that's why I share. That's what I share on all my channels.
You know, you were talking about building an audience and different platforms. Was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you're doing on YouTube, since a lot of the audience is YouTube creators, how you would build a brand on YouTube, a personal brand on YouTube, and then how you would go about monetizing something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, even back in 2017, 2018, when my channel was fairly new, I was monetizing on YouTube. My YouTube channel was feeding my consulting business. I had one video that I would use that not only was ranking on YouTube with the right keywords and the right audience kind of vernacular, if you will, but I would use that as a CRM tool. So when somebody sent me an RFP, which is a request for proposal, I would send them a proposal, and then I'd always attach that YouTube video. And I'm telling you right now, Jonathan, 9 out of 10 clients that I accrued, and these were high ticket clients still to this day. I actually got on the phone yesterday with a client who purchased a pretty expensive package of mine, a coaching package. And I asked her, because she didn't look familiar, and I'm pretty good at ascertaining where my clients are coming from. Are they coming from LinkedIn, my website, what have you? And she said, I saw your YouTube video. I said, that's my guy. I saw your YouTube video and I said, that's my guy. You were talking about finding a job during the pandemic. Now listen to this. Listen to this. You want to build a personal brand on YouTube? You want to get clients, build a business, monetize on YouTube? Forget about AdSense, especially in the beginning. I mean, forget about AdSense. The 1,000 subscriber, 4,000 hour watch time is actually not that difficult to get. My brand new channel that I just started in January, we just monetized June 16th, so 12 days ago. And we've already made $400 on AdSense. But this channel is super, super niche. I mean, hyper niche. It's so niche doesn't even apply to it. And we did a ton of audience research, and we designed videos based on what was already working. So here's my thought. And my face is not in the videos, by the way. It's a faceless YouTube channel. For now, I might put my face on it when it grows and gets bigger, but I have not put I put my wife's face on some thumbnails, but I have not put my face on it at all. And I don't share this channel. Jonathan doesn't know about it. I don't share this channel, because here's the cool thing. If you do YouTube right, if you're the target audience, you're going to get that new channel. That's how beautiful YouTube is. If you do YouTube right and you know exactly who you're there to serve, YouTube does all the heavy lifting. They will surface your video to the right people. Aha! Oh, Jonathan talks about entrepreneurship and business growth and branding. Oh, we know who to give those videos to. If you do YouTube right, you don't have to share anywhere. That's the beautiful thing about it. So here's what I did. It starts with knowing exactly who is going to buy your stuff. You want to build a brand, you want to build a business, you got to know exactly who it is that will buy your stuff. So for example, and I said this recently on a video, let's say you're a product-based business and your target demographic or your target audience is kids between the ages of 8 to 15 or 8 to 12 or something, let's just say. Well, you wouldn't necessarily target kids, right? You would also want to target the people who can actually pay you money, which would be the parents, right? So you want to identify who are these people and what you need to get inside their head. That's what you need to do. You need to figure out what is it that, they want, what do they desire, what do they deeply need, what are some questions that they have, and maybe some questions that they didn't even know they had. Like, you need to dive deep into the heart of your audience beyond just demographics, but you really need to dive deep into psychographics, which gets into the psyche, the psychology, the heart of your audience. Who are these people? What are they all about? What's their culture like, their personality, their experiences? What is it that they're facing right now that they would really love to get past? What are they going through right now? What struggle? And then if you create videos on YouTube, so for example, for my channel, my main channel, So the majority of my audience, they're looking to get more money to advance their career and grow their business, right? And so a video that is called, here are the first 5 steps that I wish I would have done when I first started my business, that's going to be valuable to a lot of people. Here's how you search for a job during the pandemic. That's going to really help a lot of people, because a lot of people are like, yeah, I need a job. We're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion. And the more that you create videos that serve exactly what these people need and want and what they actually want solutions for, like create an FAQ of your most frequently asked questions about your business. If you're a plumbing business, if you're a gardening business, if you're a brick and mortar business, if you're retail, e-commerce, whatever it is, create a list of the top most frequently asked questions and then create videos about each. Those are topics. Those are opportunities for videos that you can create and answer those questions. And again, it's showing up. If they watch the video and it was helpful, here's a beautiful thing that happens. People go, wow, this is exactly what she said yesterday. I'm telling you verbatim what this client said to me yesterday, Jonathan, and everybody listening. I just saw your video and I was like, man, he really believes in what he's saying. He's very passionate and he really seems like he wants to help. I'm going to hire this guy. And what's funny is she called me a week ago on the phone because I have my contact information everywhere. I didn't pick up the phone because it was an unknown number. And she said to me, I couldn't leave a message because it wouldn't let me. And that set off alarm bells. Like, oh my God, this is my business line. What do you mean you couldn't leave a message? And then she actually, because she saw another YouTube video, she's like, well, I'm going to try him one more time. And I just so happened to pick up, and the rest is history. She bought a very expensive package. When I say very expensive, super value, worth every penny. Actually, it was worth way more. It's actually discounted. It's worth way more than it is. But what my point is that this is not nickel and dimes. You can make real money if you position yourself right on YouTube.
You're basically using YouTube to support your business versus YouTube being your business.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube can be your business too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's so many ways, and we've talked about this a lot, Jonathan. Obviously, there's ways that you can turn YouTube into a business. And I'm not discounting AdSense revenue, but there's just so many people focus on AdSense, and there's so many different ways to do it, like affiliate marketing, merchandise, memberships, digital products that you link up in your description, product reviews. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. There's so many ways to, promoting your consulting business. It can be an arm, and it can both be, the body as well, right? So there's so many ways, and think about it, guys. YouTube is a major player in the awareness space. I was going to say media space, but I mean, it's a major player. Like, YouTube is bigger than CBS. It's bigger than CNN. It's bigger than these networks because it's where everybody is. It's online, and it owns that market share. I mean, Facebook Watch, not even close. LinkedIn video, not even close. TikTok, maybe with shorts, with short form vertical video. But when it comes to actually, and I think YouTube watching on TV is going to get bigger and bigger. So those of you guys who think that short attention spans, which is true, and you should always optimize the beginning of your video versus the end. Start by optimizing the crap out of the beginning of your video. But what I would say is, I truly believe that long form content on YouTube is going to get more popular. I think long form interview shows like this, radio shows, podcast, video podcasts. I think long form tutorials, informational stuff. I think that's going to get bigger and bigger because I think more and more people are watching YouTube on TV. Mobile is still king. We all watch on mobile, but I think watching YouTube on TV is going to start. We're going to start seeing this. We're going to see a huge incline in viewership from TV. It's already happening, and it's just going to get bigger. And isn't it fun, you guys? Isn't it just super thrilling to know that these platforms haven't even barely started yet? YouTube started in 2005. It didn't really hit the radar until maybe 8 years later. Facebook started in 2004. It didn't really hit the radar until maybe 5, 6 years later. You think about it, these platforms are only like 10 years old if you really think about it. You imagine, Ford Motors, how long has Ford Motors been around? How long has General Motors been around? How long has IBM been around? How long has, these huge companies, right? Like a Johnson & Johnson. We're just at the beginning, guys. We haven't even barely scratched the surface. And we're the pioneers. Our great-great-grandkids are going to be like, you were around when YouTube started? Man, you're old. It's
That's
awesome
a perfect example,
man. It's awesome.
That was a perfect example. My niece, I told her that YouTube wasn't around when I was a kid, and it just blew her mind.
Oh, that's
Understand
like saying cars weren't around when you were a kid. It's like the same thing. Remember when your grandparents said, I remember when there were no cars. Like, man, you were old. Yeah. We're going to be there. Dude, we're going to be there. We're going to be there. Our grandkids are going to be like, ooh, you remember time before the internet? Like, I actually remember when there was no internet. I actually remember having to actually drive over to my friend's house to see him. Actually going outside. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and while we're on the topic of your YouTube channel, you've had an amazing growth over the past year in particular.
Yeah.
Beginning of 2020.
Yes.
Could we touch on what you've done maybe differently over the last year? What's really skyrocketed? I know you've done a lot of live streaming, a lot with your show.
Yes.
Anything in particular that stands out to you? Because you went from a little over 2.7 thousand at the beginning of 2020 to nearly
was I at 2.7?
2.7 thousand.
Oh, did you look that up specifically?
I might have stalked you a bit.
Okay, good. Because I was just going to double check. Okay, I'm not going to double check. I trust you.
Yeah, it's 2.7
I thought it was a lot less
2020.
than that, but cool. Okay, yeah. So I started 20. So at the end of 2019, I love this question, by the way. This is good. Everybody listening, please take notes. I ended 2019 with 2.7 thousand subscribers. I started YouTube 4 years earlier. I think 2020 was not only the biggest growth of my channel, but I honestly think, Jonathan, that 2020 was the year that I started brand new from scratch. And I'll tell you why I think that. Even though it's kind of nice to start with 2.7 thousand subscribers, but this is where I think the biggest pivot took place in my channel. And I'm so happy to share this because I hope to God this is going to inspire you guys. So I changed a lot from my channel, and I really felt like I started all over in 2020. I never did tutorials before 2020. Never. Not one. I didn't have one tutorial. This is how you use this software, this product, this service, this tool. Not once. I never did one. Most of my videos were live streams. Most of my videos were showcasing, myself at keynote speeches that I gave for companies, organizations, or conferences. It was really just a branding arm specifically, rather than it wasn't a destination. It was a launching point, right? Whereas now my YouTube channel is a destination, I feel like. People go there to find something, not like watch a YouTube video to go somewhere else. I changed a multitude of things, but these were the most important. Number one, I stopped thinking about myself, and I really started to, I felt for the very first time, understand what the YouTube experience is, importantly, and number two, what people want from the YouTube experience. When I say people, my audience, right? And so I really, really switched, from I'm going to do stuff that I think my audience should know to I'm going to actually do stuff that my audience wants to know, right? So again, this is so funny because I'm connecting this right now. Instead of teaching them what to think, teaching them how to think, right? Here I'm going to present you some information, do what you will, rather than you need to know this, so get out of here. Which that's how it was from 2016 to, it wasn't like, don't get me wrong. I was still trying to provide value, and I was still trying to, do the best I could to serve them. But it was still coming out in a way that I didn't understand the economics of editing. I didn't understand that I was wasting so much time in the beginning of my video. And I also put more emphasis on topic rather than keywords. I put more emphasis on topic. So if you look at some of my top performing videos that I think really catapulted my channel in 2020 was, my tutorial on LinkedIn step by step on the LinkedIn featured section. That video is still performing really, really well. We were going through a pandemic, so I did a bunch of tutorials on Google Classroom, Google Meet, right? What else? I did a complete tutorial on a bunch of stuff. Remote jobs, how to find remote jobs, where to go, how to look for them, what are the best ones. I did a whole series on that. Those videos did really, really well. So it was really like I did tutorials on Zoom. Obviously, that was huge in the pandemic, Zoom. So I started thinking less about myself, less about what I wanted the audience to know, and more about what they needed to know, and that made all the difference. And guys, don't think SEO when it comes to YouTube. Don't think keyword only when it comes to YouTube. 3/4 of the views on YouTube come from YouTube recommending content. And if you want to think about it, those are search engines. Like YouTube recommending your content to viewers, that's essentially a search engine. Now, you can't optimize for the engine, but you can optimize for the viewer. So the more you pick relevant topics that have powerful thumbnails and compelling titles rather than just SEO stuffed. Don't get me wrong, I still use keywords, but I don't just do keyword stuffing, so to speak, which is what I used to do. I used to just do SEO and keyword stuffing. So the best advice that I can give and the biggest changes I made were I went all in with the audience. I took myself completely out of the equation. Thumbnails and titles were less cookie cutter and more, I put a lot more time and energy into them. So my click-through rate went up, which skyrockets views, which skyrockets subscribers, and really being economical with my editing. So the first minute needs to be rock solid. If I were you right now listening, if you're a business owner, content creator, I would spend 90% of my time editing the first minute of my video and 10% on the rest. You might think that's crazy. You might think like, Nez, but what do you mean? I've got a beginning, middle, and end. What about the full picture? What about the full story? I'm telling you right now, if you have a high retention in the first minute, if you have over 70% retention in the first minute of your videos, you're going to do just fine. If you can do that ad infinitum, you're going to be on fire. Oh, and the last thing that's the most important, my upload publishing frequency went 10x, 100x, maybe 100x. I went from publishing one video a week to publishing 4, sometimes 5 videos a week. Now, I'm not doing that now. Now I'm doing maybe 2 or 3. But I'm telling you right now, it's okay. Start with 1 a week, but look to the upload frequency needs to go up. I got that from Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin uploads probably 20 videos a day. And he's very streamlined, right? I don't think you should upload 20 times a day. The WWE uploads 100 times a day or 80 times a day or something like that. It's all based on your audience, but also I would be remiss if I didn't say the biggest change, Jonathan, came from uploading once a week to uploading 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. And that included the live stream too, every single week.
Yeah, I could double down on the consistency of uploading being huge. When I started, I committed to 3 right away, 3 a week. And that was part of the reason I started to find my audience, because I was showing up, like you, teaching on things that people needed to know. And not just like what I wanted to talk about, how to serve the audience.
I mean, it sounds crazy. It sounds like, well, what about me? What about me? Don't get me wrong. Like, of course you matter. You need to be able to bring the delivery and energy for topics that excite you. Because if you're just doing it for views, or you're just doing it because you think it'll work and you're trying to game YouTube, your audience is going to smell that cooking. Anytime you think you can game a system, just stop. You can't game the algorithm. There's no trick. There's no upload as much as you can and upload as many videos as you can that actually go to the heart of your audience. If you do that and you think of it, I know you were on the stream yesterday, Jonathan, as of this recording. You were on the stream yesterday where we had Jason on. right? And Jason, God love him, God bless him, he's very frustrated. He's very discouraged. He's just not reaching new audiences. And, you could tell by looking at his thumbnails and looking at his titles why that was the case. He's going to have his core base, but he needs to really expand upon his ability to find ways to increase that connectivity, increase that interest by going a little bit hardcore on, being more creative with the thumbnail title, more humanized, more audience centric. Whereas when we read those titles, I know you were with me there, Jonathan. Mm-hmm. When I read the titles, and I love him to death, and I think he's going to succeed. I really do, because he's committed. But when I read those titles and I saw that thumbnail, I had zero interest to click. And so this is some people might be listening and going like, what do you mean click-through rate, or what do you mean click? Why do I need to get people to click? If I give them a video, aren't they going to watch it? Don't they have to? No. You need to really, any platform that you want to build on, you need to go on there for the first 6 months and just listen. When I say just listen, that means watch a bunch of videos. Let's take YouTube, for example. Don't even think about uploading. Don't even think about posting. Go on the platform and watch a bunch of videos. Look at people who have similar interests. Look at people who have similar passions, and try to watch as many of those videos. Figure out what they're doing. Why do people like their videos? What is it about their thumbnails, their titles? Look at those. Learn. Be inspired, and then you can incorporate that into your own content creation.
And one thing that also, when people are creating their content, is finding their voice. Like, I know I've had to work to find my voice, and you have over 8 years of public speaking experience, right? Professional public speaking experience, right?
Yeah. Well, not only that, I've been teaching in front of mm-hmm. auditoriums and large lecture halls for 2 decades. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. Like, every time I went to work, I was giving a public speech. Think about that. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if every single time you left after your morning coffee and you got in your car that you were going to give a public speaking event every single day of my life for like a long time? I mean, think of the amount of like, people say this all the time to me, John. They say, "How come you seem so natural and confident? Do you ever get nervous?" Yes, I get nervous all the time, but I've put in the years of work. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And when you put in the years of work, it's going to come out like this eventually. Everybody will get there. It will happen. I promise. But it takes years and years of concentration, dedication, work, the whole 9 yards. It just does. Right?
Yeah, and I think that a huge part is that you can't compare your journey to somebody else's. Like, your very different journey than mine, and mine from somebody else's, and so on and so forth.
That's exactly right. There
actually is one big question that I wanted to ask.
Please.
Is there a question that you wish that I asked you that my audience needs to know?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow, that's a really good question. Is there a question that I wished you would have asked me? Off the top of my head, no, but I will say this. I want to share this with your audience, because I think this is going to be really important. People talk, like you said, you mentioned earlier about comparisons, right? And it's very easy to make those comparisons. It's very easy to fall into that trap and compare your beginning to somebody else's end, right? Talent and persistence are powerful things. But I would take persistence over talent any day of the week. Why? Because there really is something to be said for. I've failed just as much as I've been successful in my life. And if I, could attest one thing, over everything else, I mean, there's a lot of things that contribute to your success. But if I could attest one thing that really was the overarching goal or a component to my success, it would be persistence. And so what I really want to communicate right now, Jonathan, is if you're struggling, if you feel challenged, if you feel that, things aren't going the way you'd hoped, or you're not getting the results, or you feel like you're not succeeding, if you really feel it's worth it, I would just say keep going. Because I'm telling you right now, you could just be inches away from success and not know it. There were so many times where I thought about, you know what, this isn't working. I need to stop this. But I kept going. And it's made all the difference. If I can do this, everybody listening and watching can do this. I promise you, there's nothing supernatural, nothing special about Nez. There's nothing even original about me. Okay? I just know where the attention is and I know how I need to go about it. And I'm not going to stop. I'm never going to stop. So I'm going to keep going and going and going. And I'm telling you right now, if you have that kind of attitude, I don't care what you're into, you're going to be successful at it. So persistence. If you have talent and persistence, you're bulletproof. But if you, I would say persistence is always the outlier. It really is. It's always the differentiator. Persistence. So keep going, guys.
And you just got to find your audience, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people on this planet, nearly 8 billion.
Yes. There's room for everybody. Yeah, there's room for everybody. Exactly. Love the way you said that, Jonathan.
So I just wanted to thank you again for coming. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, connect with you, how should they do that?
Yeah, literally all you need to do is just Google me, Professor Nez. Go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Professor Nez, or just Google me, and I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm Professor Nez on all platforms. Yeah. And so I'd love to see you guys, and I look forward to seeing you.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming. And if you want to earn more, grow faster, and stress less, Professor Nez is your guy.
All right. Yes. Thank you, man. It's been an honor. It's been an honor being here, Jonathan. I really mean that. And I just want to say I thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And it's an honor for myself and my entire audience.
Awesome.
If you want more expert interviews and valuable content, check out the Entrepreneur's Toolbox podcast playlist right here on your favorite podcast provider. And I will see you in the next one.